Lekea, Gaither, Lekeagaitherer. I was assigned to evening watch, which is 2:30 to 10:30, I believe. Responsibilities included answering 911 calls, traffic accidents, directed patrols, that type of thing.
You spent a lot of time getting to know your beat. Was it your goal when you were getting to know your beat to go out and make arrests? Was that your main priority?
No.
What was your priority when you went out to know your beat?
Really, the priority was to stay away from 911 calls. I mean, just, if we're being honest. So if that included, just doing directed patrols, doing drop-ins, which is my businesses on my beat, I would go into the stores, talk to the store owners. The old guys sitting on the side of the building drinking, they give you a lot of information. So my priority wasn't to lock people up. I wasn't trying to be on I-20 doing accident reports.
Were you always in plain clothes, or did you sometimes wear a uniform while you were working in that unit?
At that time, the only time I put on a uniform was to go to my extra job.
Okay.
Other than that, I was in jeans and a t-shirt.
All right. Did having a uniform versus not having a uniform make your interactions with the citizens any easier or any harder?
My experience, I felt like the uniform kind of was a distraction. A lot of people would just look at the uniform, like they look at the uniform and not the person or what you were saying. So it became a lot easier for me just to even maneuver to get to talk to certain people in plain clothes, jeans and a t-shirt. It was a lot easier than the uniform and a patrol car.
Officers and investigators in the gang unit?
I believe it was myself and one other officer, and the rest were detectives.
Would you tell the jury at that time what difference there was between an officer and an investigator in the gang unit? Was it the same as?
Money.
Oh, okay. All right. So even as an officer in the gang unit, unlike as a patrol officer, in the gang unit, would you actually begin to investigate your own cases?
Not initially. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just go to the gang unit. You had more freedom and access to move around the city, learn different parts of the city. So, I didn't know much about gang investigations. I knew how to investigate a little bit just based on my time on the Zone 4 team. So I just kind of reverted back to what I knew, which was being proactive and not necessarily working gang investigations because I wasn't aware of how to do it.
With an hourly pay of $31.75, she had a second job. She talked about money a couple of times, and she talked about not doing her job. Well, I done some public research stuff on Miss Lekea Gaither and a couple of conversations of people who knew her around the city of Atlanta. And this is what I found. These are my theories based off of conversations and based off of very public research about Miss Lekea Gaither. She is more than welcome to clear up anything that she wants to. She can reach out Instagram, you can reach out Facebook, but these are my own observations, which does not make this facts at all. This is just my perception off of what is gathered. Once again, she is welcome to clear it up. We can have an interview, and then we can do it that way. We will not talk about the case in which she is right now currently the longest damn witness that they have. Let's get into it. Lekea Gaither had known only one job in her adult life. She joined the Atlanta Police Department as a 22-year-old recruit, and in the 18 years since, she was repeatedly recognized for her standout work as a part of the gang's unit. Officer of the Year in 2013, Investigator of the Year in 2015. Back in May, just before Atlanta's summer of unrest began, Gaither took a break that lasted through much of the summer, a time when violent crime in Atlanta skyrocketed. Yet, during her absence, not one white shirt called, said Gaither, using a nickname reserved for police higher-ups. It was very disheartening. That's when I decided it was time to leave. Gaither was one of 37 APD officers who either retired or resigned in August. 26 departed in July. Nearly twice as many officers have left the city of Atlanta force this year compared to 2019. Internal documents reveal many, like Gaither said, they felt underappreciated both by their bosses and city leadership. At the same time, the number of murders in this city is up 40% this year. From the same point in 2019, shootings have risen 29%, aggravated assaults 8% APD record show. Police departments in Chicago, Minneapolis, and Seattle are also reporting significant personnel losses. And as in Atlanta, violent crime in those cities has increased. These are some of the more experienced officers we had that are leaving, said Gaither, now an investigator with the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office. Her former partner on the gangs unit, Ty Dennis, also retired in August, accepting a job as a district safety officer for a suburban school district in his native St. Louis. That's another 16 years of experience out the door. Everyone's exploring their options, Dennis told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They make us feel like we're all replaceable. Okay, we'll see. An elusive goal, according to APD, there are currently 1,623 officers on the streets with 110 recruits in training, a total nearly as low as any seen in the past 2 decades. For longer than that, the city leaders have aspired to reach 2,000 officers on that force, operating under the theory that more cops on patrol equals less crime. Former Atlanta Mayor Bill Campbell first made the vow in 1997 but fell short. His successor, Shirley Franklin, bolstered the force numbers in her two terms in office, but never reached 2,000. In 2013, under Mayor Kasim Reed, the city's police force topped that magic number, albeit briefly since then. APD has consistently been understaffed, running 200 to 300 officers below its current authorized capacity of 2,046 officers. But the shortage of cops alone is not responsible for Atlanta's rise in violent crime, says one expert. I'm not going to read any more. I just wanted to put that out there real quick just to see something, because there's something that is missing. Well, she was supposed to testify in the appeal of this guy. Let's get into it. I'm gonna skip all over this. If you want more on this, all you have to do is Google search Kenneth Copeland and Lekea Gaither. Sorry that I called her Lekea. I be messing up names all the time. So this right here says presently before the court is Magistrate Judge Russell G. Now, Copeland's motions to seek to suppress evidence and statements that he allegedly made is fruit of his allegedly unlawful detention while playing basketball on April 28, 2015. What an interesting thing that you remember we heard the voicemail say, man, they're locking everybody up. Things to make you wonder. At the City of Atlanta Dunbar Recreation Center, as well as evidence in connection with the police officers' allegedly unlawful search and seizure of an H&M shopping bag found at the basketball's court. Copeland's motion also seeks to suppress evidence obtained in statements made following his arrest on June 10, 2015 as fruits of the allegedly unlawful detention and earlier search in April. Defendant filed objections to the R&R. A district judge has broad discretion to accept, reject, or modify a magistrate's judge proposal, findings, and recommendations. United States versus Radis pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 636. So now that y'all are aware of that, defendant's objections focus on numerous critical, factual, and legal grounds for the magistrate's judges. R&R defendant also challenges the credibility and inconsistency of the testimony of Mason McCure, the principal Atlanta Police Department officer who testified regarding the search and detention in the hearing conducted by the magistrate judge. Based on defendant's objections, the court has conducted a de novo review of the record. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The court additionally held a supplemental hearing on September 28, 2016 to consider further testimony from Officer McCure and A.C. Hayes, as well as, here we go, investigator who? Lekea Gaither. But check this out. Officer Hayes was directly involved with Officer McCure in defendant's detention and search, but did not testify at the hearing before the magistrate judge. Investigator Gaither talked or interviewed Copeland on the afternoon of his original detention, and when he was ultimately arrested on June 10, 2015, she testified at the hearing before the magistrate judge, but was not available to testify at the supplemental hearing conducted by the court. The court also considered counsel's letter briefs submitted after the supplemental hearing, as well as their legal argument at the hearing. So she couldn't even show up to testify. At some juncture during the car ride, Copeland radioed investigator Lekea Gaither with the APD gang unit to meet him at Turner Field to talk with Copeland. Think about this. Turner Field didn't take him to the detention center, did not take him to the jail, but all right. McCure testified at the magistrate's judge hearing that Copeland was upset and had asked to speak with Gaither, whom Copeland knew from prior police interactions. McCure's investigative report, on the other hand, specifies without any reference to Copeland's request that when he was relocated to Turner Field location, McCure notified the gang unit, whom arrived on scene to question Copeland about the weapon and other gang-affiliated activity. And Officer McCure also testified that at his detention of Copeland was for investigative purposes. Copeland remained detained and not free to leave the vehicle after Gaither and members of her APD gang unit came to speak with him. The record at this juncture does not indicate that Copeland made any substantive statements separately to McCure prior to Gaither's arrival, though he made statements regarding the gun once Gaither arrived. McCure did not turn on the car's recording device while Copeland was confined in the car. Think about that, y'all. Now remember, she didn't testify a second time. Officer Copeland testified that he apprised investigator Gaither of the situation briefly over the radio, yet McCure stated he had insufficient information to arrest the defendant, but personally never conducted any further investigative questioning, either while Copeland remained handcuffed in his patrol car as they drove to Turner Field or during the approximately 20 minutes that elapsed as they waited for Gaither's arrival after arriving at the stadium, or during the additional time after Gaither spoke with Copeland as he continued to sit in the locked car. Investigator Gaither testified at the first hearing that as soon as she arrived at McCure's patrol vehicle, she leaned in to talk to him through the car window and asked, "What's up? You asked me to come out?" According to Gaither, Copeland started ranting about how he just had gotten out of jail, had done nothing, and did not have a gun. R&R Doc 62 at 39 in transcript citations therein. Gaither arrived along with various other members of her APD gang unit to speak with Copeland. Both officers, McCure and investigator Gaither, maintained in their testimony that Copeland's statements were all provided on a completely voluntary basis. All of the officers were bearing arms in their holsters at the time. The government concedes that Copeland was in custody at the time that he allegedly requested to speak with investigator Gaither, and when they spoke on April 28, 2015, none of the officers ever advised Copeland of his Miranda rights at any time on April 28, 2015. Defendant Copeland was released after Gaither had completed her conversation with him. Think about that, y'all. As discussed by the magistrate's judge, normally the officers would have been legally obligated to administer Miranda warnings prior to questioning him under these circumstances. Here, however, Officer McCure testified at the hearing before the magistrate judge that he did not question or obtain any statements from defendant Copeland, and that Copeland independently requested to speak with investigator Gaither, regardless of whether Copeland requested to speak to Gaither. If McCure actually heard no statements made by Copeland, and McCure cannot testify to any, there is nothing to be suppressed. Thus, the court agrees with the magistrate judge finding that defendant's motion to suppress statements made to Officer McCure must be denied based on the current record, subject to any evidentiary shifts that may occur before trial. Think about this. Y'all think about this. Watch me read. Based on the current status of the record, the court also agrees with magistrate judge's legal and factual analysis that Copeland gave a spontaneous and voluntary response to investigator Gaither's inquiry of "What's up?" That was not the product of interrogation or its equivalent. The court previously requested that the government make Gaither available to testify at the supplemental hearing, but as she was on leave or otherwise personally unavailable around the time frame of the hearing, the court proceeded in her absence. Her supplemental testimony would have assisted the court in addressing the hanging question posed by the magistrate judge's report as to Gaither's dialogue with Copeland regarding the gun when she arrived at the patrol car. That was also apparently overheard by McCure, specifically to the extent that investigator Gaither questioned Copeland about the firearm seized at the Dunbar Center, as opposed to merely seeking clarification about a spontaneous statement regarding the firearm without having provided him Miranda warnings. Then his responses to those questions would be subject to suppression. But on the current record before the court, Copeland has not shown that such interrogation occurred. At 41 and 42 and 29, according to the court, denies defendant's motion to suppress his statements to investigator Gaither, subject to hearing from investigator Gaither prior to any trial in this matter, in the event that the government intends to present her testimony as to statements made by Copeland on April 28, 2019. Y'all think about that, bruh. She came up and basically said what's up, and then they have a conversation and he gets let go. Now, y'all remember when Buddy was in the back of the car and he was talking about, man, y'all give me $20 and stuff like that and everything like that? She had a reputation of paying off her snitches. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. I want to throw in another story just for shits and giggles, and then we'll get to my final determination, and I will let y'all determine for your own thoughts if you came to the same conclusion as me. Let's just run it. Just
Fire erupted in the parking lot of a fast food restaurant. Channel 2's Darren Morris live on Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway in Northwest Atlanta. And Darren, 2 officers were hurt chasing someone in this.
Fred, the injuries weren't too bad. In fact, the officers who were hurt, their car wasn't placed in park, but the person they were chasing ran on the I-285, and police believe he was with the two people who were shot in this Burger King parking lot. Overnight, we noticed bullet holes in the windshield of this car and one person dead behind the wheel.
Also located nearby was a male shot from apparent gunshot wounds lying in the parking lot. That subject was transported to Grady and pronounced dead.
The shooting happened in the parking lot of the Burger King on Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway in Northwest Atlanta just after midnight. Officers chased down a third person on Interstate 285 who supposedly had a gun and was in the car with the victims.
Nearing that apprehension, we had two officers that were injured. They have been transported to the hospital for non-life-threatening wounds.
Police have surveillance video from the Burger King of a car possibly driven by the shooter.
We do have information there was a later model black vehicle that was involved in this incident here.
And investigators also told us they found a good amount of marijuana inside the car along with a gun. Well, the two officers were down at Grady Memorial Hospital. They suffered leg injuries, but of course we'll check in with APD throughout the day to see if they were able to track down a killer and bring you any new information on WSBTV.com and also on Channel 2 Action News at noon and at 4.
Now, I told y'all before that report came through that I was going to be a little bit petty, so I'm just being funny at this point. Please, Miss Investigator Gaither, please don't take this no wrong way. But here we go. The victims were identified as Quincy White, 22 of Atlanta, and Reginald Koiku, 24 of Fayetteville, according to Channel 2 Action News. While responding to the call, units spotted a man running on the ramp to I-285 northbound. Jones said it appeared that he may be running from the scene of the shooting. The man was seen throwing an object into the wood line at I-285. Police searching the wood line were unable to locate the object, but believed to be a weapon and became involved in a struggle with the man. During the struggle, Officer Joseph Daniels' vehicle slowly rolled forward and bumped him and rolled over the legs of Sergeant Lekea Gaither, Officer Travis Williams, and the man, Jones said. Ms. Gaither wants three things in my opinion based off of my research: the money, the power, and the respect, Chico. Why? Because Ms. Gaither literally got hired by not only the district attorney's office, not just that. And how do I know what I'm about to tell y'all? Is because you need to be following Miss Infamous Sylvia, the court reporter that you can use today, not tomorrow. So go ahead, subscribe, and give her a follow. Now, with that being said, Miss Gaither is up there literally with no notes, no anything, which means she has been rehearsed. Not only that, on top of that, you telling me, and we came to this conclusion on her live stream, y'all go check out Miss Sylvia's live stream, that, hey, shawty, how could you remember this from basically almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago, technically? Kind of odd, right? Because I was wondering why Steele and Adams and Shard were sitting up there, and when Weinstein was not on vacation, was in there, why they kept on objecting all the time, and it was sounding like they kept on saying to me, not all the time, obviously, leading. Now, Seti Nash, are you accusing her of being dirty? Hell yeah. Because that comes with power. Absolute power will absolutely corrupt. She went to the DA's office after she left. She left her officers. Mind you, if I was a police officer, when the times is bad in the summer, because that's when the kids are out of school, they have nothing to do. You don't leave your brothers in blue. That's what I thought. That's what I thought the police credo was about. She sat up there and literally said, we weren't getting the notoriety. We weren't getting the notoriety. What do you mean you weren't getting the notoriety? You got Officer of the Year twice. You got bumped up in less than a year for not actually doing your damn job. I find it weird how Woody got caught with damn near machine gun, and then you come talk to him, and then you get to skate and you get to go. Y'all don't question that? Around town, she's known for being dirty. She's known for being paid for play. Meaning, when Buddy asked about that $20, you can't hook me up. She's like, that's not how it go. She knew that's because the radio was on. Because word around town is she paid for play. If she wants you to be a snitch, you're gonna be on her payroll. I don't really see a problem with that, because if I was a police officer, I would 100% be doing that. But I'd be a dirty ass cop. That's the difference between me and her. Now, she's hired by the WNBA. That's why I said the money, the power, and the respect, Chico. The respect comes from the NBA hiring her, going on her second year and stuff like that. She was one of two women in the whole entire NBA to actually get hired as a part of the security team, Miss Lekea Gaither. That's where y'all see that picture of her on the damn thumbnail. I can leave about a 21-second video kind of highlighting that too. So my conclusion is she's dirty. My conclusion is that you don't leave your brothers and sisters in arms because you throwing a pity party because you wanted more money or more recognition. You left them during the summer and took your basketball homeboy with you. And, detective, I'm coming for you, sucker. Or in the words of Booker T.
Go, sucker! Hulk Hogan! We coming for you, nigga!
Yeah, we coming for you, bruh. You got next when you come up on that stand, because I'm about to expose your ass next. Subscribe, turn on the bell, stay notified, share to keep your people aware. Unlike everybody else in this space, I know what I'm doing. So all you whack-ass, low-subscribe channels saying I'm stealing your content, in the words of my homeboy Negan,
I want to play my dick is bigger than yours. It is. We both know it.
I'm gone.
The security team for the Atlanta Hawks. One of them in particular, Lekea Gaither, it is her second season.
Everything else is taken care of. You see Lekea right there. She was just the happiest to know that we were highlighting her tonight. Is in this building. It's the Hawks, Lekea Gaither. She's the Hawks team security, a retired Atlanta police sergeant.